YouTube, what's going on? Coach William Grazione here, owner of Metabolic Evolution Incorporated, and today I'm bringing you part 5 of this 1200 calorie diets video series, where in today's video we're going to talk about setting yourself up for fat loss, how to do it, when to do it, why to do it. All right, so if you have not had the opportunity, please go back and watch. You could either just watch part 4, which would give you some in-depth understanding before you start this, because you can't start this if you have not metabolically recovered yourself first. So please go back and watch part 4. If you're somebody who's really interested in learning the fundamentals of how to set yourself up in this fat loss phase, then I'd highly recommend you go all the way back to 1200 calorie diets video 1 and watch the entire thing, because that will essentially set you up to understand more about how we're going to set you up for fat loss. I also wanted to give a huge shout out to all of you guys who downloaded, received an email, or got our ebook on Carbohydrate Cycling for Optimal Fat Loss. Myself and my assistant coach, James Longstrom, did a great job on that book, and so far we've gotten a lot of really positive feedback from it. So if you're somebody who's watching this video and you would like a free copy of that ebook, please go ahead and send me an email at the email down below, and we will make sure to get you a copy of that ebook. So without further ado, here we go. Part 5, setting yourself up for fat loss. So the first thing that we want is to create an ideal scenario of making sure that we know exactly what your maintenance calories are and you have a limited caloric output. Now again, I'm going to try to make this as easy to understand as possible, because I think that that's the way that the majority of people who are watching this video are probably going to be able to really connect with the message. So maintenance, we're finding what your maintenance is. Now keep in mind that this is a consistent expenditure, okay, and what you're expending on a weekly time duration. So as an example, I got a question from a client the other day, and she says, well, what if my client's doing like a bunch of exercise and she's doing hours of exercise a day and she wants to go into a fat loss phase? I'm like, well, it's probably not going to be optimal, because her body is so much more efficient than it needs to be at expending calories. So we actually want you to be very inefficient when it comes to expending calories. You could think about efficiency as being a bad thing. Being inefficient is actually good metabolically if we're trying to get as much body fat off of ourselves as we can. So let's say, for instance, how do we create consistency and find out the maintenance to make sure that our client that we're trying to set this fat loss phase up for is not expending too much, and at the same time we understand we've reached this homeostatic point. It's how many times a week is the person training? There's not much flexibility there. Are they training 4 days a week? Are they training 5 days a week? Are they training 6 days a week? However many days they're training, that's consistent. How much cardio are they doing? Are they doing maybe 10 minutes a day, 20 minutes a day? I'd highly recommend not doing more than that per day with the intent to lose body fat, because again, the more cardio you're going to be doing, the harder it's going to be to put yourself into a fat loss phase and actually be able to increase that cardio over time. So we want you doing limited amount of caloric output, and we want your calories to be as high as we can get them without your weight essentially continuing to creep up. And we want training to be as consistent as possible, okay? Now, when you have found this really awesome homeostatic point, then I think it's a good idea to go ahead and commit to a fat loss phase, okay? Now, how do we set you up for fat loss? The way that we essentially do that is understanding a few very important things. And I believe the first one is to be your lifestyle. All right, guys, so with your lifestyle factors being the #1 key consideration you need to think about before you put yourself in a fat loss phase or you put your client in a fat loss phase, that's what this video is going to be about. All of the lifestyle factors that could play a role in your ability to build muscle and or lose body fat. So let's go ahead, let's hit the whiteboard, and let's draw up all of the factors that you need to consider before you try to set yourself up in a fat loss phase. All right, everybody, so this is reason 1. Before you start your fat loss phase, big thing to consider is why. Now, I know you guys probably see this all the time. It's like, what's your why? But truly, what is your reason for wanting to lose this weight? Now, typically what we get in metabolic evolution is a surface level response initially, because obviously I understand that trust has to be built over time through repetitive action, right? So if we're asking a client, why do you want to lose 20 pounds so badly? And we just get, oh, well, I just want to lose 20 pounds to make me healthier. Or I want to lose 20 pounds to be more confident. Those are very, very realistic responses that you'll probably get. Either you're thinking this or your clients are thinking this. But we want to go a little bit deeper, because if the response that we get is this: I want to lose 20 pounds, okay? I want to lose 20 pounds. Well, then we have to think about this. How long are you going to be able to hold yourself accountable, and how much do you actually value yourself to be able to stand behind the reason of I want to lose 20 pounds? Most people that are in this position, they're most likely lower in confidence than if they were, let's say, 20 pounds less. And chances are, before they hit this 20-pound weight loss goal, they're probably going to fall off because they don't hold themselves to a high enough standard to be able to reach that goal. Okay? So let's think about a reason that would really motivate, would really drive you. So do you notice that your confidence is lower than it should be? That could be a reason. Do you notice that because you're maybe out of shape, that you're depressed, and you show up depressed in all aspects of your life? So whether it be you're showing up depressed in your relationships, you're showing up depressed at work, you're showing up depressed for your kids, and then how does that actually transform your life just because we're not where we want to be yet? So think about that. If I'm 20 pounds overweight, or 40 pounds, 50 pounds, 100 pounds, doesn't matter how much overweight you are, ask yourself this: if I was to lose this weight, would I be able to become a better human? Would I be able to show up to my job or show up for my clients and work better? Yes. Would I be able to show up for my relationship and be confident with my wife, or be confident with your husband or your boyfriend or whatever? Yes, of course. Would you be able to then show up confidently for your children and your friends, because now you can do all the things that maybe used to limit you when you were overweight? Now you can play with your kids, you don't get out of shape chasing them around, and all of that amazing stuff. So what's your real reason? Now, the most recent fat loss phase that I went on, my reason was because I feel terrible at 205 pounds. But that's normally like it was my bodybuilding off-season weight when I was a bodybuilder. But I could no longer live there because I realized that that was not the way that I wanted to live. That was not the way that I wanted to, show up for my family and my wife and my clients. So I decided to go on a fat loss phase and get myself down. And right now I'm sitting about 187. I want to get down to about 180 pounds, because then I know that's like my sweet spot. That's the prime time spot where I am the most confident and I can really show up in my everyday life for everybody around me. So ask yourself, can you show up in all of your relationships for everybody that's in your life? What's your why? Figure that out. Number 2, we're going to talk about all of the stress factors that may play a role in your life. So all of these stress factors, I'm just going to name them off, because being an adult, having a job, maybe having kids, maybe being married, the financial stuff, whatever it is, let's just go ahead and write all these things out. Alright guys, so here they are. Every other cofactor that could play a role in your ability to lose fat successfully. So let's go ahead and start off. A lot of you who are watching this, maybe you have kids. How much stress do your kids inflict on you? If you have young children, maybe not too much. If you have like teenagers that are in high school, maybe you guys may or may not have a really good relationship, but that could be a very, let's say, unwanted stressor in your life, and another key consideration for you to consider before you start this fat loss journey. The second thing, let's say, is work. Now, a lot of us, I know you don't want to admit it, but a lot of us go to jobs that you guys hate. So you have to wake up timely, you have to get to an office, you have a boss, you work in the box, you get back in your car, you drive home, and you just hate your work. Now, how much stress does this influence your life? How much do you dislike your job? How much do you dislike the people you work for, the people that work in your office? How much do you dislike that? Your relationships, your real life relationships, your boyfriend, your girlfriend, your husband, your wife, same-sex marriages, whatever it is. Are you happy in your relationship? Are you genuinely happy within your relationship? And more importantly than that, in my opinion, is because you're going to be spending more time on yourself, pursuing a goal that's going to help you show up better in your life. Do you have a significant other that's going to support you in your mission to get that job done? So are you happy in your relationship, and do you have somebody who will support that cause? Are you in a position financially where you can afford all the things that may come with you, spending more time on yourself? And are you in a good position financially overall? Because we all know that money can be one of the biggest stressors in our everyday life. Doesn't matter who you are, what job you have. At some point during your life, you've probably found out that money can be a huge factor in your ability to either be happy or depressed. Do you have the opportunity to make this transition between constantly being reactive or always feeling like you're in a proactive state, which is amazing? But if you're a parent and you're somebody who has a job, you're somebody who has to travel to work, you're somebody who has to pick your kids up from daycare, take them home, you're probably always reactive, and you're probably never giving yourself the time that you truly deserve to be able to at least just calm down for a minute. Take some deep breaths, relax, and make sure that before you start a fat loss phase, you're actually taking care and prioritizing your own self. So loving yourself before you start this process, I think, is extremely important. Now, if you have the opportunity to be proactive, then good for you. Because typically proactive people have much less stress, they have much less anxiety, because they understand that by being able to take action when they have the opportunity to be proactive, that stress and anxiety, which are the next two things I'm going to talk about, actually go down. So if I could ask you, within a stress and anxiety perspective, guys, where do you spend the most amount of your time? Between a 1 and 10. Now, full transparency, I want to be super brutally honest with all you guys and say that right now I probably live in a chronic state of stress from a 5, somewhere probably around a 5 or 6. Now, the reason for that is because obviously I have a lot of things going on behind the scenes where I'm trying to grow a business and just all of the things that I've talked about here that play a big role in how stressed or how anxious I am, okay? So how stressed and how anxious are you? If you're somebody who constantly lives in a state of high anxiety, high stress, then I would make sure that you try to get that under wraps before you start a fat loss phase, okay? Because stress, anxiety, being proactive, parenting, work, relationships, money, all of this can cause negative hormonal responses in your body that make it very hard for us to lose body fat, because it's hard for our body to do multiple things at once. If you are basically in this fight or flight mechanism or this very high chronic stressed state all the time, you are basically skyrocketing cortisol, which makes it very hard for you to either lose body fat and or build muscle during that time. And last but certainly not least, and there's a reason why I put this one last, and it's, are you in a healthy environment? Are you healthy? So the reason I put this one last is because what I want you to do is go back and watch part 1 through 4 of the 1200 calorie diets video series. Because if you haven't seen those things yet, you're going to need to be able to understand those things before we can really dive into the numbers and the schematics behind actually setting you up in a fat loss phase from a numbers perspective, where we're going to talk all about macros, we're going to talk about calories, we're going to talk about cardio, energy expenditure, adaptive thermogenesis. We're going to talk about all of those things that do play a large role in your ability to lose body fat, especially if you want to talk about carb cycling and who may benefit the most from carb cycling. So here we go. This is video 5, setting you guys up for fat loss, and this is the first key consideration. Again, if you guys are interested in our ebook, go ahead, shoot me your email at my email down below, and I'll be sure to send you guys over a copy of that ebook so you guys can read it. If you appreciate this video, if you got anything positive out of this video, go ahead and leave me a comment down below. I'd really appreciate it. And in future videos, we're going to be doing some giveaways so that I can send you guys some stuff just as a thank you for watching the videos. Much love, guys. Coach Will, and I'll see you guys in part 6.